Alrighty, taxes. What are taxes? Well, taxes are not needed. And really, if you think about it, because of the hidden tax called inflation. So anytime they have a stimulus, bill, stimulus package, whatever they call it, the happy, friendly, puppy, rainbow stimulus package that's going to give everyone rich, wealthy, going to help everyone out. All these great names to come up with, every time they do that, that's a tax. It's a hidden tax. And it's a tax on you, your family, your children, your children's children, your grandchildren, your great-grandchildren, all of your grandchildren that are yet here, yet to exist, and will in the future. It's a tax on them. You're taxing future generations. That's what they do. And and they don't call it that. They call it inflation. They say you need inflation. You need inflation. You need inflation. It's been the biggest lie that I can remember. And people believe it. And they accept it. So with that inflation, that tax, why do we have everything else taxed? Why do you have sales tax? Why do you have property tax? Why do you have income tax? Why do you have tax on everything? Anything that you and I do for an exchange, goods and services, business to business, private person to business, whatever, private person to private person, the government would love to be involved to tax that too. But why? They don't need it. They can print whenever they want to print. They can create whenever they want to create. They do it and they've done it. You saw that over the last year and a half. You've especially seen that over the last couple decades. It's been easy for them. Before it was tougher. They didn't have all this free will of printing and creation that they do at the drop of a hat nowadays. No matter who's in office, that doesn't matter. That's not even the point. Red, blue, R, D, doesn't matter. Does not matter. What matters is the elites, the politicians, those in control, and the rest of us. That's the divide. And they want to cover that up. They want people focused on, R&D, who is rooting for what team down there, you little, minions, you little peons, while we do all this stuff up here and steal and take everything from you guys. Keep you guys busy down there while we're stealing everything. You guys fight amongst each other with these stuff we throw in there for you guys to fight about while we're doing the real stealing, real thievery. So anyways, government wants all things taxed. And they do tax almost everything. And they don't need to. They really don't need to. The only reason they do it is for a control mechanism, to control behaviors. That's the only reason they do that, is keep people in check, if you will. Control. That's all it is. That's all it is. Guaranteed. So what do they want to tax? That they're not already taxing. There's not much they're not already taxing. But they want to tax garage sales. They want to tax cryptos, currencies, that kind of stuff. And back in the heyday, I think that was the 80s, maybe early 90s, when baseball cards were the rave, I'm sure they would have loved to have taxed that too. The trading of baseball cards, the sale of baseball cards, the purchasing of baseball cards, all that stuff. Lemonade stands, they'd love to tax too. They want to tax those little kids selling lemonade. Why? Because they want to get their hands involved, and they want to get all the revenue they can, even though they don't need it, but it's a control mechanism. That's mainly what it is. They want to tax fundraising. People out there, someone died, someone got in a horrendous car accident, someone had a major accident on the farm, something happened to someone, and you're trying to fundraise for that person and or their family or both. Government would love to be involved in that, because if you get $100,000 fundraising, well, government's like, well, where's my portion? Where's what I deserve? And they think of it there, that they deserve it, absolutely. But they really don't need it. It's more of a control mechanism. It's more to keep you in check. Gifts to family members or friends. Government wants to tax that. So even if someone passed away and the children get stuff, whether it's a house Or maybe someone's good to do and he owns an apartment complex and the children get that. Government wants to tax that. Tax what you would make, tax what would be made, that kind of stuff before you even get it in most cases. So before you even get, let's say it's the government has the Ferrari that the person passed away and he put in his will to give to someone, niece or nephew, or grandchild. And then the government wants that tax. So the Ferrari, make numbers easy. So we're worth $100,000. The government's like, well, hey, you owe us $30,000 before you can get that. Or once you get that, you owe us $30,000. Because it's considered income, or it's considered, unnoticed gains that now you've realized. They're realized gains, so now you owe us. And government does that kind of stuff. And government should have no business in any of that stuff. Nothing from family member to family member, person to person. No business in a lemonade stand. No business in a garage sale. And no business anywhere. Period. Let alone all this other stuff they're sticking their nose in. So why am I saying this? I'm saying this because if you think about it, with all this money printing or all this creation they've done, with all these stimulus packages, why are you still paying taxes? They're throwing $1 trillion here, $2 trillion there. If anyone knows how much $1 trillion is, it's an enormous amount. What is a trillion seconds? A trillion seconds is 31,709 years, I believe. I got that number right. So if you count from now to $1 trillion, that would take you 31,709 years. That's how big $1 trillion is. And they're throwing numbers away, these around like nothing. So telling me $1 trillion cannot finance the government for quite some time, especially if you thin it down and you cut the fat out of government, well, it's sort of impossible. Because in my opinion, government's all fat, all unneeded. But anyways, if you slim it down, running lean, mean, and trim, it needs barely anything. And if they're just printing the money, just doing creation of money, they need no taxes. No taxes taken out from anything. There was a time in this country that there were no taxes, zero. And government went by. Government got by fine. There was police. There was fire departments. There was hospitals. There was all this stuff. Access to all these things without taxes taken from the citizens. Without the theft of taxes. Well, how did that happen? Really, how did that happen? Well, you didn't have all these sports teams. Here's one argument, so you won't be able to go to a game. So, we had sports teams. Because private people, private wealthy individuals who enjoy that, get behind it. And then there's cases where citizens get together and they want that, and then they offer up to pay for that to happen. But then they're regulated by the citizen, by the people paying this stuff. The entity, the sports, the team, whatever, is regulated because there's an end of this rainbow of money. If the citizens don't like what you're doing, they're going to stop. If whoever's providing doesn't like what this team's doing or have done, or doesn't like XYZ, then the funding goes away. It's a good checks and balances. And we're without that now. We've been without that for a long time. The checks and balances come from government to the citizens by form of taxes now. So you don't do what we want you to do. We're going to take more from you. That's what they do. There's no way around it. So who gets the shaft in this? Who loses out most? Well, the poor. The poor is taxed the most. The poor is taxed the most. And I know people have heard this. I mean, well, if someone's making $15,000 a year, that's not even the minimum of, where they need to be, really, on paper. People will tell you, $15,000 a year, and they have 2 children, single parent, whatever. They're paying the highest amount of taxes, maybe not income taxes. Maybe they're getting money back. Back, I say that lightly too. Maybe they're getting money, not back. Maybe they're getting transfer payments because they don't make enough or they fall within whatever bracket. But when they're out there buying food or clothes or gas or whatever else they need to get by to survive, they're paying taxes on that. So they're paying taxes on a $10 item, sales tax. So if it's 10%, just make number easy, $10 items, they're paying 10% on that tax, so $1. So that's costing them $11. Versus someone who they make $15,000, someone who makes $100,000 a year. Them, that 10% tax on that $10 item is nothing in comparison. And then if someone makes $1 million a year, it's even less. It means nothing. So the person who's struggling the most is paying the most in taxes by form of sales tax. I mean, really, that's what it is. So how is that right? If there were no sales tax, if there was no property tax, if there was no income tax, if there was no tax like that, period, everyone would be on a level playing field. Absolutely. I mean, for the most part, you got to get what you can go get. So I just had this tax thing in my head. I'm just like, I just got to get out here. I know I've talked this kind of stuff before, but I think it's good just to get it out there again and get people thinking and talking. Is there something you can do about it today? Well, you're not going to change overnight. But if you and some other people talk to other people, and a whole group of people figure this out, and they're like, we got to figure something out. Whether it's a movement, whether it's a protest, whether it's changing the way you're spending your funds, changing the way you're saving funds, changing what you're purchasing, whatever. I think that's a start. And especially with all this stuff, let's talk about digital currency and the central bank digital currency, the CBDC. That's coming out. It's coming. I think the best way to get around that, I say that lightly, to make it prolonged, to elongate the process that they're pushing, is cash. Spend cash. I know cash is worthless, but you got to spend it because it's still the only acceptable thing for commerce. So cash, digits are too, but cash, I mean, you got two evils there. Sort of like when you go to vote all the time, they say vote for the better of two evils. You got two evils here. You got your digits in your account, which is called dollars, and you got paper, which are called dollars. Well, if you spend the digits, government or whoever wants to see what you've done, what you've bought, where you've been, who you've been in exchange with, can. And actually digital stuff can be shut off, can be stopped, can be frozen. Paper, dollars, on the other hand, can't. No one can really see what you're doing. It's none of their business. It doesn't matter. If you're buying diapers, it doesn't matter. It's no one's business. Unless they ask you and you want to share that. But you're using paper, no one can see what you're purchasing. No one can see where you're purchasing from, really. I mean, nowadays with all the cameras, yes, they can, but it's a lot harder than just using digital. And then on top of that, no one can stop that. No one can control that and say, well, we don't want Sally buying ammunition because she's talked with this other person who belongs to this agency that we don't approve. If it was digital, they could stop that. Paper, they can't. It's just matter. I mean, that gives you freedom. And the more people use paper, the more people use cash and coins, the longer it's going to be until they push and feed us this digital thing they want. And I pray and I hope that this digital thing that they're trying is going to be a failure, utter failure, and it's going to crash and burn. And the citizens of society will decide among something else, some other way of exchange. I think that's the thing that can save us the best from a lot of issues we've had and they've got us into. But anyways, I know I've made this long, and I've talked, and I've talked, and I've talked, and I've talked. So anyways, thank you for watching. If you like this, hit the like, share, subscribe, all that, whatever. As always, stay vigilant. Protect yourself, protect your family, protect your health, and protect your wealth.